Dr. Shwetha is a nutrition professional with a deep belief that nutrition is a perennial science, inseparable from human life and essential for holistic well being. Her purpose is to share authentic nutritional knowledge and empower individuals to make informed choices that nurture the body, mind, and soul. Her journey into yoga began as a pursuit of physical strength, but gradually unfolded into a deeper exploration of the mind and life itself. Through yoga, she developed greater awareness, humility, and clarity of purpose. While she considers herself a lifelong learner, she walks her path with sincerity, guided by conscious living and the intention to share the wisdom life continues to offer. Dr. Shwetha, a simple girl next door. We welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I audible? Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Ranjita. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Pramod, for that wonderful introduction. Yeah, it was written by me, but yeah, the thing is, I don't know, after such a wonderful and interesting, story on journeys, so how my, journey would be, or my story would be taken. I think everybody had a great, time listening to Nagraj's story. So I think everybody is sort of, interested in traveling. But then the title that I have given is A Simple Girl Next Door. So actually, this week I was quite busy, and Ranjita kept asking, "What is that you want to talk about?" And she kept on asking, the biodata or the CV to be read out. So I think 2 or 3 days she was just behind me asking, and then I was, I was not replying. Then I thought I should, and I don't know, nothing came to my mind, and I just wrote this. And I just remembered, this has stuck with me for quite some time. I don't know how many of you remember the first social media that, that was rolled out was Orkut. Does anybody remember?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So many
Good.
stories.
So, yes. So before Instagram and all of these social media, I think yeah, it was Orkut, and I remember for some profile thing I had written that. So a simple girl next door. So it just occurred to me, and then I just gave. And after giving, again I got really busy with my university work, and then I had not prepared anything. So after listening to him, I don't know. Actually, I started thinking, what aspect I should be talking about. But nevertheless, then what I did, again, I used AI. So ChatGPT to ask, because ChatGPT I use quite for my work. So it knows my history. So more than any, I think, living being in ChatGPT with my history. And nowadays everybody sort of uses ChatGPT even for counseling. If we are going through something, we ask question and it seems to give wonderful answers. So I did the same. So I was like, I have to talk for 20 odd minutes, and my history. And can you just suggest on what aspects I should be talking about? It just gave me such bland story. It just gave my qualification. This is what you have done, and you are going to be fine. So ChatGPT basically didn't help me, and I was clearly at loss what to speak or narrate. And then what I did, I'm into teaching profession. So then I started breaking down the topic that I had given, that is the title, Simple Girl Next Door. So then I asked Google, what does, qualify as a simple human being? So then it gave me certain traits. It says basic human quality is all about honesty, kindness, empathy, respect, responsibility, humility, patience, gratitude, integrity, and compassion. So these many qualities qualify a human being simple. And I guess simplicity, and this is my belief that simplicity is not simple. The more simple you are in terms of your behavior and thought process, people find you that complicated. And in today's world, with all the things that is going around, I don't know how much of simplicity is actually left in us. But nevertheless, just few things that I want to share with respect to my life journey so far. Maybe it will be useful to somebody. I'm not sure. So I belong to a very humble background. So my upbringing has been very humble, and I am a government school product. So yeah, but English medium, but nevertheless, it's sort of Kendriya Vidyalaya, if anybody has studied there. So it is central school, and very humble beginnings. And when I look back at my journey, so it's quite interesting because I was not a gold medalist per se, or a prodigy for that matter, or a very intelligent person in the class. But nevertheless, certain aspects, I think, in my personality that helped me grow as a human being. I think it is having a very simple kind of thought process, meaning not complicating my thought process with respect to what's happening around, and not taking in too much of negativity, just being myself and doing what is needed at that moment. I think that sort of has helped me, I think, throughout my life. So of course, when I look back at my university days, or my bachelor's, and before that also, I was never a human being with too many very specific goals. So this another aspect that I keep sharing even with my students is this. So I sort of tend to see that a lot of people, they have very fixed and very clear goals in their life. And one aspect, when I look into my own life with respect to goals, one aspect, it could be positive or negative, I'm not sure. So this is open for understanding and discussion. So I'm a human being of very short-term goals. So but sometimes I just think whether would it have been different if I had a very specific goal, and I would have put my life energies to achieving that. But nevertheless, I think this path, that having short-term goals, is also a way to lead life. So any task that is given to me, I try to do it with utmost sincerity. I put all my efforts into it. And then this has been a life pattern that I tend to see that whenever I'm able to finish anything, a short-term goal properly, it leads to something, better. So I think, again, here, if anybody is struggling with goals and all of that, this might help. So, and also another aspect that I have seen in workplaces, people talk a lot about visibility, meaning, whatever you do, you should be out there, sort of, showing what you do in terms of either, it could be in terms of photographs, you should be, so all sorts of things. But then, yeah, I mean, this is, again, a very interesting aspect in my life. It is just that I need attention. For example, when something is assigned to me, I just need attention during that time. After that, I don't know what to do with attention. So basically, I'm quite, I think I'm a shy person. Now, for example, if I'm taking a class, of course, I need everybody's attention, students' attention, that they pay attention to what is happening in the class. But then if for example, if there is a program that is happening and I'm not involved in any, aspects of managing it, then I like to be left alone. And then you wouldn't see me, unnecessarily trying to grab attention and all of that. Now, why I'm narrating this story is recently I was given sort of a promotion, meaning an additional responsibility. So I've been in this current institute for approximately 8 years. And in all these 8 years, I have met, different kinds of professionals, different kinds of people with different, mindsets and all of that. So I happened to meet one scientist. I knew him from my PhD days. And I remember having this conversation and with my other colleagues also. So a couple of them, they always used to say this, that, visibility is very important, that you need to make a presence with respect to, whatever, maybe the way you work and, so on and so forth. And I started thinking about it. Does it actually, mean anything, or, but then I forgot about it. I went on to, lead my simple, so-called simple life. And very recently, again, as I told you, I was given this additional responsibility. And it came out of nowhere. I had never imagined that, something like this would be, given to me. So when I went to my higher ups, the first time, I met them after getting the promotion. So the first thing I asked them, so I was not called for an interview. I was not called for anything. I was just given a phone call saying that, would you be interested in this? So, and again, no, I mean, again, I don't know what to, it can be termed as stupidity or, being naive. I had nothing in my mind because my higher up called and just asked, that would you be interested in this? I didn't know how to respond. And in those fraction of seconds, I just happened to say yes. And then I forgot about that call. I come back home and then I talk to my brother and all of that. And then he says, and genuinely this happened. He says that might have been a prank call. So, so just forget about it. And I took his word, never went back, never inquired, never went to meet anybody in the, administration, seeking clarity whether, this call was correct or not, because I had not saved the number as well. So then this happened. I actually, then after, 2 months or so, I actually got the letter. And then what do? Again, with my very simplistic thought process, without thinking too much or calculating too much, I just go to them and I say, I just asked this question, that what was so good in my CV that, I was chosen, one. And the second thing I happen to, tell them is this: I never knew that I existed for, the admin. Now here, why I narrated this is, because people keep talking about visibility in current world, isn't it? One has to be out there, just, just showcase your work and all of that. But then I did the exact opposite, not thinking too much, just trying, being myself, being in my lane, and just doing whatever work was assigned to me. I'm a teacher. I'm an assistant professor. So I just exactly, did that. So I used to take classes, I think I'm an efficient teacher. So I just did my work, and I don't know, in all of this, so whatever, the rules or, management mantras or rules or whatever people, keep talking about, how much of it exactly works or it doesn't work. Because in my case and scenario, so whatever is the conventional thought process per se to get a, better or get a promotion or those kind of things, I think I am an exception. And again, here, is it just simple, thing, meaning whatever work is assigned to me, I just did that. Not something extraordinary or, not something out of this world. So just a basic discipline of being on time, going to classes on time, trying to finish syllabus on time, just the basic, simple thing that is expected out of a teacher. So, this one thing actually has made a huge impact. And then I've actually started thinking, so whether all these, managerial aspects or, the way one should be conducting oneself with respect to work, whether they all stand true or, what it is, I'm yet to get an answer. Okay, so I spoke about goals and no goals, okay. And then, and another aspect that I have, again, seen in my life is just approach. If you need something, I think we shouldn't be bogged down or not too much influenced by people around us and their thought process of a particular situation, or especially when it comes to human beings. I think we should have one-to-one conversation or one-to-one experience and then understand that human being rather than trying to understand a human being, through somebody else's lens. So this has been my mantra, and I keep telling this to whoever listens to, or whoever, that this is like unsolicited advice, but nevertheless, I think it is so very important that, brain is given to think, isn't it? So I think we all are equipped enough to understand, certain aspects and nuances of, it could be any kind of relationship for that matter, especially when it comes to work. Because there is a competition involved there, I think we have to be extremely careful who we lend our ears to. I think that another aspect has helped me a lot. Again, this is nothing very complicated. It's very simple. Listen to everybody. It's okay. People have their own, ways of expression, and they want to express, and they have their own experience, but not necessarily that somebody else's experience of a human being has to be yours. So I think that one, simple aspect has again, helped me a lot. And yeah, basically, meaning not going with too much of, preconceived notion. So I think that helps a lot with respect to anything for that matter in life, I guess. Be it, you're traveling, you need somebody's help, just go and approach, see what happens, rather than having all these preconceived notions and then going and approaching, maybe it's a negative, answer. And then, now I would just like to, talk about a few things that I'm struggling a bit. So I find small talk really difficult. So now I'm sort of in a managerial kind of a, position. So I was into teaching, that also remains, but then, I've been given additional responsibility, as I mentioned. So again, I have no clue about, people that I'm surrounded by. And it was initially when I, took this assignment up, it was like 1 or 2 months I really struggled, because I had no friends, nobody to talk to, or I didn't know anybody in admin in spite of working for, 8 odd years. So now as I told you, I'm struggling with this aspect of not knowing people, one, and being very bad with, small talk. Now, when I say that, now what do I mean is, I can just say hello. I can just ask, had your breakfast? After that, I genuinely don't know how to carry on a conversation. And I struggle. I genuinely struggle, because I'm not a, person who shares easily. Now, to have a conversation, it becomes very important that we go one step ahead, then ask, what's happening, what is not. Now, here again comes a question of, your professionalism, how far to go, how far not to go, what questions to be asked and what questions not to be asked. Now, this aspect still I have not found the answer, and I'm still struggling with it. I think, in Q&A session, maybe if somebody has an answer, I think, that would be helpful. And now just to, make it little light, because I'm struggling so much, with respect to, talking to people and, getting things done. So, I've started thinking, am I neurodivergent? Maybe I have some spectrum of it that, I find really. Otherwise, I'm a very friendly person, very, very friendly person, very helpful person, and very resourceful as well. I can have a conversation on any topic on the planet apart from myself. But, if you have anything to share, I'm a brilliant listener, and sometimes best of a solution I'm capable of giving. And you talk to me about politics, world politics, environment, these, that, anything XYZ on the planet, I'm capable of holding a conversation. But then, when it comes to this, small talks with respect to, managing relationships, it's so very difficult. And I'm surprised with myself. It's like this. I see people, a group of people coming, and if I have to say hello to them, I just change my route, this actually fascinates me at this, stage and age in my life. that I am still doing it and I'm still trying to find an answer. And then I happen again to ask ChatGPT, am I neurodivergent? In some way, because I'm genuinely struggling. So yeah, and yeah, some of the basic qualities that I mentioned, I Googled what to talk about. So I think certain things have definitely helped me in my, life. As I told you, I'm an overthinker, yes, meaning, I tend to think different scenarios and all of that. But then one good aspect about myself is I don't carry it, too much with respect to, the different thought processes that come along. And then another thing, I don't like to be in confusion. So I think I like clarity. So that also sort of has helped. And letting go. And letting go with respect to, see, we are all adults. We understand that, nothing can be like, but no relationship for that matter, especially when it comes to workspace, it can't always be, nice and fine and, all of that. So sometimes, some people, they might not be, particularly nasty to you or purposefully being, degrading and things like that. But then one nice thing that I've observed in myself is I don't, hold any grudges. I think if anybody is able to understand that, I think it's a wonderful trait to have, not holding any grudges. And I think the last thing that I would like to talk is about the securities and insecurities. I think as a female, and that too in, again, not to degrade or anything like that. I think the society that we live in and the things that we are exposed to and all of that, especially females, I think they have a lot of insecurities, and it's totally okay because, but nevertheless, I think one very important aspect is we have to really work on those. And when it comes to, female colleagues, I don't know, I think most of you might be fortunate that you are surrounded by good, supportive females. I think it's very important that, the females, especially, I think we should work on our insecurities. Otherwise, it starts projecting in very nasty ways, and it is not good for anybody's, mental health, be it male or, female. I think this one aspect that I'm very aware and conscious of is our insecurities. I think it's, very important that we own up certain things. It could be age, it could be our, status, marital status, so whatever it could be, how we look, and the XYZ, anything it could be. I think it's very important as females that we be secure in ourselves, so that, we are happy, and then we are able to at least not necessarily spread happiness, but then, have that positive environment around us. So yeah, I don't know how much of my story was simple or not simple, but then as I told you, there was only a couple of things that I wanted to share, because again, sharing is a little difficult, and I think one has to be really a good storyteller to just narrate. And then yeah, so thank you so very much. Yes, thank you everybody for listening to me.